Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Lauren Martinez. Alan Marsden has the night off. Puerto Rico is struggling in the wake of Hurricane Maria, but President Trump is defending the federal government's response to it. Today, the president said a massive relief effort is underway, but warned it will take some time. Mulalingi is at the White House with the story.
A week after Hurricane Maria tore through Puerto Rico as a Category 4 storm, the situation on the island has grown dire.
For each day that goes by, this crisis will get worse, not better.
Most of the island is still without power, and supplies of food, fuel, and fresh water are running low. Florida Senator Marco Rubio visited Puerto Rico yesterday.
I fear that when communications does come back up, and when we start getting more access to some of these areas that have been cut off, we're going to start learning that the toll and the impact of the storm is far worse than we had imagined.
On Monday night, President Trump sent his first tweets about the crisis, pointing out the island's broken infrastructure and massive debt.
Close to 3.5 million American citizens in these islands are on the brink of a humanitarian catastrophe.
But on Tuesday, the president defended the federal response.
We're doing everything in our power to help the hard-hit people of both places, Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands.
Mr. Trump said he'll visit the devastated region next Tuesday. The president explained that going before then would only disrupt an already complicated relief effort.
In Texas, we can ship the trucks right out there, and we've gotten A+ on Texas and on Florida, and we will also on Puerto Rico. But the difference is this is an island sitting in the middle of an ocean, and it's a big ocean. It's a very big ocean.
The Navy has dispatched additional relief vessels to Puerto Rico. However, they won't arrive until the middle of next week. Mulalingi, CBS News, the White House.
What was Hurricane Maria is now Tropical Storm Maria. It's expected to make its closest approach to the U.S. mainland tomorrow off the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Well, all three young adults accused of murdering a Reading teenager pleaded not guilty today. This afternoon, the defendants were back in court to set a date for a preliminary hearing after their arraignment was pushed back from yesterday due to a conflict of interest with their attorneys. 19-year-old Isaiah Williams, 21-year-old Devin Sutton Wilson, and 20-year-old Brooklyn Aubrey will have newly appointed attorneys today. All three defendants pleaded not guilty to charges of murder, robbery, and false imprisonment relating to the murder of 19-year-old Joshua Alberg. The defendants are expected to be back in court Tuesday, October 10th. The cause of a destructive fire at a decades-old woodworking business in Durham is under investigation tonight. There were actually two fires at Westgate Hardwoods that broke out 8 hours apart. The first was knocked out quickly by firefighters, but the second ended up destroying the Westgate Hardwoods building just after 2 a.m. Now, the owner and his longtime employees are in shock.
Pit in your stomach. Yeah, to see half of your shop up in flames.
Firefighters managed to salvage one building. The owner says he hopes to rebuild and reopen. Luckily, crews were lucky to save much of the expensive equipment. Action News Now reporter A.J. Abel takes us to Durham, where although much of the Westgate Hardwoods property is gone, it certainly won't be forgotten.
Driving through Durham, a quaint town with a population of a little more than 3,000, you'll now find a little hole in the community.
Aside from it being my own building, I think I felt just as bad being his building.
What's left of Westgate Hardwoods, a longtime woodworking business.
The work that they do is just, it's beautiful. It's art.
Though about 3/4 of the building was destroyed in a fire early Tuesday morning, it's certainly not forgotten, and you don't have to go very far to see their work. In fact, just across the street to the Almendra Winery and Distillery.
Yeah, we opened up almost 2 years ago.
That's Almendra owner Burton Bertagna. He said this place used to be a grocery store.
We wanted to use all local wood and really feature some neat, soft, warm tones with wood.
And what better place to pick than Westgate, which uses local trees to build its masterpieces.
All of our tables, we literally have a plaque on the table that specifies not only what type of wood it is, but where it came from. Located in Chico on Hobart Street, a tree that fell on Dayton Highway.
He said it's obviously devastating to see what happened to his good friends, but he's lucky to have these small pieces of history and be able to show off some of their work.
I love promoting such good people, and I love the fact that we can tell people, hey, you know what, this is work from these guys over here, just promoting them.
A.J. Abel, Action News Now.
Bertagna couldn't have enough positive things to say about the owners of Westgate and hopes they will be able to get through this. Well, Tehama County residents went before the Board of Supervisors today to fight back on a new marijuana ordinance. Inquiry residents went to the meeting in Red Bluff to discuss the proposed law that would crack down on medical and recreational marijuana. Right now, county rules say you can grow up to a dozen medical marijuana plants, but city leaders want to reduce that to half. Some residents feel the move is violating their rights.
If I were one of these people, I would get all these different people affected by this and do one hell of a class action lawsuit just to prove to you guys you can't take the laws and disregard them just to appease your egos.
Speakers had the floor for about 40 minutes before supervisors cut them off. However, no one spoke in support. That's when supervisors ended the open floor, saying they will have a study session allowing both sides to figure out a compromise. Now, no word yet on when that session will take place. Contractors left with broken solar panels on his hands with nowhere to dispose of them. Justin Cantalupo says his solar panel load was turned away by several local landfills because they're classified as hazardous waste. They include heavy metals like silver, copper, lead, and arsenic. Action News now reached out to Butte County Environmental Services to find out where to safely dispose the broken solar panels.
You have to get them shipped to a hazardous waste facility, and just shipping a hazardous waste requires manifesting and certain documentations. The transporter has to be a certified transporter of hazardous waste, and then it has to be disposed there, and there's a high fee.
And sending waste to hazardous facilities costs thousands of dollars. Cantalupo says he can't afford that. So if you'd like to dispose of any broken solar panels, Environmental Services recommends contacting Kettleman Hill Landfill. It's a business in Southern California. Turning to weather, Chris Kuiper joining me now. Chris, we had a kind of a hot day today.
We did. Those solar panels, I'm sure, are working very hard with all the sunshine that we had out there today. And we'll continue to see it again tomorrow. Another very sunny and pretty toasty, frankly, day in our forecast coming up tomorrow. Current temperatures, though, that's what you got to love about fall, at least early fall. No matter how hot it gets during the day, it always cools down at night. And we're doing it again, sitting in the 70s and 60s right now in the valley after a day, which, frankly, you look at the afternoon highs, that's almost July-like. We had highs in the middle 90s. Now, though, 70 in Chico, 71 in Corning, 72 in Red Bluff. You can open up those windows and let Mother Nature cool the house down, and you can get it kind of cool there by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. 66 in Paradise right now, 52 in Mount Shasta City and in Bertie, 42 in Chester, and boy, just a smidge above freezing in Truckee at 37 degrees. So again, cooling down fast, especially in the mountains. So midnight in the valley. Our temperatures here in 45 minutes or so, 50 minutes, should be down to about 65 degrees. Not too bad at all. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, cooling down, 60 degrees. Plenty of sunshine in our forecast for tomorrow. So by noontime, we warm back up to the low 80s. And by the afternoon, right back up into the low and maybe even middle 90s. But don't get used to it. Turning the calendar into October next week and look for much cooler weather as we do that. We'll talk all about a big cool down coming our way in just a little bit.
Chris, thank you. And a surprise today, Saudi Arabia's king ordered that women there will finally be allowed to do something they do in every other country on earth, drive cars. Holly Williams reports.
For over 2 decades now, a determined group of Saudi Arabian women have been protesting against the ban on them driving by illegally taking to the roads. Some of them posting videos of that online, risking arrest and punishment. I met with some of those women in Saudi Arabia in 2014, and they told me that the freedom to drive was symbolic in a country where they have very few rights. Saudi Arabia is, of course, an ultra-conservative state. One Muslim cleric claimed that driving would harm women's reproductive organs. Another recently said that women simply weren't intellectually capable. But things are very gradually changing for Saudi women. They're now permitted to vote in local elections. They're allowed to play sport at school, and more of them are going to university. Holly Williams, CBS News, Istanbul.
Coming up next, airmen out of Travis Air Force Base are making a difference for survivors of last week's devastating earthquake in Mexico. And we drop in on a ranch where rice season always brings a new challenge. Next.